Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rural Rebel News. As always, I'm your host, the Rural Rebel, and if you haven't already, please hit that share button below. That is the only way that our broadcast and our channel can get out to as many people as possible. Also, if you happen to value what we do here at the Rural Rebel, then we've set up a Patreon for a very small price of $3 a month where you can get an exclusive report every week. We've just set that up, and it also helps support us. So if Facebook comes for us inevitably, we can weather that storm. And the only way we want to do this is for you, the people. And be sure that link will be posted in the description if you would like to support us. Thank you, and now it's my pleasure to be bringing you Rural Rebel News Report number 3 now. We're chugging along with these. There's just so much news that I feel like I have to report on, so here we are. So on to our first story, which is on the concerning decline of not only the Australian Stock Exchange, but stock markets all over the world, including Wall Street, and that is billions being wiped off stock markets all over the world. But more locally, it's billions being wiped off blue chip stocks in the Australian Stock Exchange in recent days. The stock exchange having dropped from 7,100 basis points to 6,600 basis points, where it's hovering at about now. Unlike the US, however, the Australian market is not in bear territory. And a bear market means that it's a market that's fallen by 20% since its last peak, but that hasn't happened here yet. Nevertheless, nothing was spared yesterday as the carnage spilled out to all 11 sectors. Tech was the worst performer, down by more than 6%. Energy and mining weren't far behind, falling 5% each. While it may not technically be called a crash, given what's happening with Wall Street in America, it's possible the trend will continue here. Although it is important to note that it is the end of the financial year, a very rough financial year for a lot of people, so it could just be a giant sell-off for this time of year, and it could correct itself. We'll certainly see more of that, but with the Australian dollar trading at a measly 69 cents, it's definitely concerning, along with everything else that we see going on. Is this a part of the Great Reset? Well, if we don't see much share markets around the world start to rebound, this could definitely be playing a larger part in everything else we're seeing occur all over the world. It's really worrying, it's really concerning, but here we are, billions wiped off share markets all over the world. Now, on to story number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the World Health Organization calling the summit to reclassify monkeypox. That's right. It gets crazier and crazier. The World Health Organization is calling all their cronies in to come and discuss what the international response to monkeypox should be, if there is to be one. So the World Health Organization said on Tuesday that it would hold an emergency meeting next week to determine whether to classify the global monkeypox outbreak as a public health emergency of international concern. The UN agency is also working to change the name of the disease, which has long been confined to Western and Central Africa, until more than 1,000 cases have been detected in dozens of countries across the world. The outbreak of monkeypox is unusual and concerning, World Health Organization Chief Jebreyesus says. For that reason, I've decided to convene the emergency committee under the international health regulations next week to assess whether this outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern. The emergency committee will meet on June 23 to discuss the designation, which is the highest alarm the UN agency can sound. So we know what happened with COVID, what happened when they sounded that alarm bell. So that is what they're going to do this time. ladies and gentlemen. So it also says we will make announcements about the new names as soon as possible. This announcement comes after more than 30 scientists wrote last week that there was an urgent need for a non-discriminatory and non-stigmatizing nomenclature for monkeypox. I don't know how monkeypox is stigmatizing in any way. It's a pretty, unless you're not trying to offend monkeys, I'm really not sure. But it'll be interesting to see what name they decide to come up with for it. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, the World Health Organization will be holding a summit, a summit, to perhaps make a monkeypox an international issue, which is certainly concerning if you're looking at what they've done over the last 2.5 years. But that's how it is with the World Organization. Now, on to a very serious story, ladies and gentlemen, and it's concerning for those. It's certainly concerning for those in the most lower demographic of our society, and that is job seekers to be given a digital ID and put on a blockchain. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Just another crazy development as they unfold. And that's from the 1st of July, 2022. Workforce Australia and its points-based activation system will replace the present job seeker mutual obligation model of job services. According to the government, Workforce Australia will provide upfront early investment in an intensive, individually tailored case management system for job seekers assessed as being at risk of becoming long-term unemployed and having vocational or non-vocational barriers to work. Job seekers will now need to earn 100 points to do at least 5 job searches per month in order to receive their unemployment payments. To earn these points, there is a list of 30 activities to choose from, all of which have been assigned a points value ranging from 5 to 100. Tasks include carrying out online learning modules, joining the Army Reserves, carrying out migrant English language courses, and participating in various training skills programs. Participants will all receive a digital identity and be put on a blockchain along with their medical and mental health records. Their behaviour and activities will then be recorded, measured, and assigned a value according to the program's predetermined success metrics. Workforce Australia is just one more example of how Australia is being reshaped into a stakeholder capitalist nation under the guise of a Great Reset. White papers galore are being churned down on how to turn labour markets, inclusion, and economic mobility into investment opportunities for the private sector. Social impact investing frames marginal, vulnerable groups as inherently broken and a burden on the state purse. The exact cost to the state of each broken individual must be monitored, assessed, and calculated in real time, another justification for wholesale surveillance and predatory public-private partnerships, which is what we're seeing more and more of. By defining success in such narrow terms suited to outcomes-based contracting, powerful investors will eventually be given the opportunity to control how public services are delivered in Australia and to whom. People needing services are the guinea pigs being groomed as data commodities, need housing, food, education, training, a job, healthcare. Well, you better be willing to follow a prescriptive continuum of care pathway and to be tracked 24/7 on a dashboard from cradle to grave. The ability to get a job will soon hinge on a worker's proof of compliance, conformity, and obedience. The elite want cogs that can be re-engineered as needed. No squeaky wheels allowed in the new digital economy. Many vulnerable groups are being targeted for these kind of evidence-based impact interventions. Is there informed consent? No. It's taking people who are desperate for services and forcing them into a system where if they want food, clothing, shelter, education and job opportunities, then they must demonstrate their compliance with the system before being rewarded with government assistance. Those dependent on welfare are the targets now, But the ultimate goal is to upscale the program across all government services, including education and healthcare. Using technology to gamify starvation points is morally offensive to basic human decency, the Australian Unemployment Union said. Due to the traumatic recent history of governmental abuse of welfare recipients, our members are confused and scared by the new system. This is not the design of a humane welfare system. This is the design of a digital workhouse set up to brutalise people in desperate economic need and push them out of the system and onto the street. It's certainly concerning revelations for those most at risk in our community, and they're just like I say, it's just creating this compliant lower class, which is what they want, and you'd better be sure they'll upscale it. Now, on to a story I guess you could say really bugs me out, and that is the article posted from the RACV on Facebook, linking to an article describing the buzz around bugs. That's right. I can't make it up, and it follows on from what I said last night about the Queensland of Health a few weeks ago, just mentioning that they're undertaking research into insect-based foods for the masses. And this came across my newsfeed today, and it was just too extraordinary not to report on. Anyway, in reference to that article, the article reads, wondering all that buzz is about insect protein? From worms to witchetty grubs, insects are proving to be a sustainable and tasty food of the future. The article also goes on to mention, despite the buzz, eating insects is hardly a new concept. They have been a dietary staple in some cultures for centuries, owing their excellent nutrition profile, widespread availability, and the ease with which they can be grown and cultivated. A couple of questions here, ladies and gentlemen. Why is a private corporation such as the RACV, a private car insurer, involving themselves in this topic at all? It's increasingly alarming when these companies are suddenly reinforcing and encouraging these agendas and these different things, and are bringing them into the mainstream consciousness, and are just planting that seed that, oh, it might be normal. But isn't it interesting that this is coupled with all of the things they're also doing to the meat industry? Isn't it interesting that they're completely dismantling one industry while suddenly promoting and promoting the other? Also, what buzz do they speak of? I'm not talking about eating bugs. Are you? Are any of your friends? Is this now a normal conversation we're having? Because if so, I've completely missed it. Is this a conversation that you're having when you walk into shops with shopkeepers? I'm really not sure. But it's not for me, so there's certainly no buzz around insects for me. But I think you and I both know what this adds up to and means, what they're trying to implement, and what they're trying to accomplish. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on to the last story for tonight, which is the power issue that is plaguing our nation. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There's power shortages that are plaguing the East Coast, and just announced that Victoria that we need to conserve energy because the regulators can't keep up with it, or the people that own the energy aren't putting it onto the market for some unknown reason, is the description they give. Anyway, but it's just a proper example of the issue we're facing, where both political parties have gone left. They've gone towards this green agenda, shutting down this power plant, shutting down that power plant, and and then suddenly these green dreams, these green hopes that we have, aren't keeping up. They're not enough to supply our power. But it raises the point that we need to have a discussion about power production. Do we need nuclear now? Do we? Do we need it much more urgently than is said? But the energy shortage is meant to continue today as well, especially for as well as those in Victoria. So be sure to keep an eye out for all local warnings in regard to that, and conserve power where you can. And if this is something that we might be facing, because it is winter, maybe get some solar panels and some other stuff, some stuff that charges from the sun, so I can just take that load off and just give you maybe a little bit of a backup if these things do continue to occur. And as always, you need your candles and your torches. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen.